Thanks for tuning in to the Animal Control Report podcast, where we help debunk the dog catcher stereotype. A lot of times people think it's the dog catcher when they hear about animal control officers, but here on the Animal Control Report, we change that by taking you inside the day-to-day operations of animal control officers. Not only will you hear stories of animal control officers, but you'll hear from industry experts as well. We are also part of the Keep It Humane podcast network. We have some amazing partners there, so check them out at keepithumane.com/podcast network. You can listen to all the animal control and animal welfare related podcasts there. And let's continue to help people help animals. Welcome to the Animal Control Report with your hosts. Oh, wait, they're not here today. It's just Daniel Ettinger. And we are going to be joined by Kendra King here in a few minutes. But really quick, just want to make sure you check out keepithumane.com for everything really. Training updates. The homepage has over right now, there's probably a good 12 or 14 trainings, like active conferences and trainings in person. So that's pretty cool. Just a bunch of different ones around the country. So check that out, keepithumane.com. Also check out our podcast network. That's keepithumane.com/podcast network. Obviously, you can find all that from the homepage. And don't forget to check out livetrap.com, where they have all the amazing animal control products right there on their website. If one of the bishops were here, they would have made fun of me, but use discount code Keep It Humane and you get 10% off your order. Again, livetrap.com, discount code Keep It Humane. A couple other things I have to mention. Check out our social media pages. We're doing Keep It Humane and the Animal Control Report on Facebook and Instagram. There is a TikTok page that is Keep It Humane. And there's also a couple groups. So there's the Animal Control Report group and page. And then there's also a Smart Shelter group, a private group on Facebook. So we have a good small group in there currently. And that's Smart Shelters, for those that don't know, because I don't talk about it enough on this program. That's saving more animals responsibly together. So check that out when you get a chance. All right, enough of that stuff. I'm going to introduce Kendra King from Ventura County, Ventura Humane, I should say, which is just north of Los Angeles. And we're really excited to have you, Kendra. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. As I was saying, I've never done one of these before, so this is the first for me.
Well, I'll be easy on you. I know if Bishop was here or other Bishop was here, that maybe they would say I wouldn't be that easy on you, but I will. I actually was just up in Ventura County a couple months ago, and it's really cool. It's interesting because like once you get out of the crazy traffic of Los Angeles, you kind of go down this hill, and then it's like flat farmland. But I feel like where you are is up on a mountain.
Yes, actually, we're located in Ojai, California, so it's very scenic, very beautiful trees and wildflowers and all that stuff. So it's a nice drive. I live actually in Ventura, so I do commute up to Ojai. It's about a 30-minute drive, give or take, but I actually love the commute because it is kind of pretty.
And it gives you time to listen to the Animal Control Report podcast, you know?
Actually, I don't know if I have that capability in my car. It's kind of on the older side, but
Fair. I definitely can relate. So tell us a little about like your journey to get into animal welfare, animal control, etc. Where did this all start for you?
So for me, it actually started back in 2014. I was working a corporate job that I had been at for about 3.5 years, and I decided that I didn't want to be in corporate world anymore. And so I got a job at the local Humane Society. I actually started as an adoption counselor and kennel attendant originally, and was mostly doing that to kind of go back to school and really put my life on a different track type thing. And about a year later, I was offered the position of a humane officer. And so I went through the rigorous training for that. And in 2016, I was officially badged as an officer. And then I was out pretty much doing mostly just myself doing cases. We had one other officer at the time. So we were a two-man team, or women team, I should say. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then in 2021, I was promoted to senior humane officer And then in February or end of January, beginning of February last year, I was actually promoted to the Humane Investigations Director.
That is
So
really cool. So is your team two people, or is there a lot more?
we actually have more now. We have a senior humane officer and we have two humane officers in training that were just hired this year. So we will be a team of four.
Really cool. Okay. Okay. And your county is fairly big. I'm guessing you do like the unincorporated parts.
We do all of Ventura County.
Okay. Okay.
So we fall under California Corporations Code 14502. We're a little bit different in the sense that because we're employed by the Humane Society, uh, part of Corporations Code 14501 basically states that we can enforce California state law regarding animal welfare with or without government contracts. So we actually cover the entire county.
When you say that, so there's a bunch of
Mhm.
like incorporated cities.
Mhm.
Do you operate in those cities in your county, or is that based only on contracts with whoever they may have a contract with?
We operate in the cities too. If they have a animal control officer for that city, we'll usually call them and see if they have the case as well, and defer to either if they want to take it on, then that's fine. We'll take it if they don't want to. We work closely with Ventura County Animal Services as well, and have kind of an interesting relationship with them. For instance, like the city of Ventura doesn't contract with them for like animal welfare type stuff. They do like barking and bite reports and licensing and things, but if it's a wellness complaint, then they actually transfer it directly to us for that.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on where we're at. We have a wide range.
That sounds like a really wide range, and it's interesting because as we've discussed on this show so many times, like there's so many different names to define our profession and what we do. And so obviously we have animal control officer, which is like the most known
Yes.
title, but you're specifically a humane officer. And I know
Mhm.
California, the penal code talks about the different roles. So it'll say animal
Mhm.
control or humane
Mhm.
or even law
Mhm.
enforcement officer in there.
Mhm.
Is there anything that like do you think is your job any different than an animal control officer?
Um, I would say in our county it is. We actually deal strictly with abuse and neglect cases. So that's our bread and butter. That's what we do day in and day out. We don't do any like strays or anything like that. That's all going to be your county animal control officers since they do hold the contracts for that mostly. And
Got it.
we are just kind of the almost specialized investigators, I guess you could say,
That
for
makes
animal
total
control, or
yeah,
not
that
animal control, but
that makes total sense. And that's actually kind of the same model that you see in a lot of the East Coast counties or
Mhm.
cities, etc. One place in particular that I'm familiar with, just growing up in Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
they had animal control officers, but they also have humane law enforcement officers. And so
Mhm.
it's designed a little bit differently where they're post certified and they actually
Mhm.
have the powers and ability to arrest. So in California,
Mhm.
we do have the ability to arrest people.
Mhm.
Like I don't know about you, but a we don't have the means to physically arrest somebody. We don't carry cuffs and we don't have a
Mhm.
vehicle that we can actually put them in and
Mhm.
then transport them down to the county jail and things like that. Do you do that, or does the sheriff's office do that?
No, we'll usually call our local PD, whoever is covering that jurisdiction. If an arrest needs to happen, we do have police powers to serve search warrants, make arrests, just the same thing.
Sure.
We do actually go through a post background check prior to becoming an officer and a badged officer.
Okay.
There's two levels. There's a level one and a level two. Level ones can carry firearms. We're level two. We don't carry firearms. We don't really want that negative connotation. We've got enough with almost looking like a cop sometimes that it's more of a negativity of that weapon that would be added to it, that somebody might approaching their house, they look at you more as a cop instead of, hey, we're here to help. We've definitely, you know there's been discussions of like, well, we could do level one instead of level two, but I don't think that's the route we're going to take.
Okay.
Hmm.
So when we talk about cruelty cases,
Hmm.
like that's probably one of my favorite type of investigation.
Hmm.
It sucks in the aspects to even have to do them. You know, we don't obviously we don't want to see any animals treated poorly. Without, I mean, and I don't know how much detail you can get into. What is one of your favorite or most memorable cases that you've investigated? I'm putting you on the
Ooh,
spot here. We did not give you a heads up whatsoever. You're straight up on the spot.
that's totally okay. There's been so many. We have, I'd say I grew up riding horses. That's been like my heart is the horse cases whenever we get them, because we do have a very agricultural and rural side of the county, as well as your, suburban areas. So we
Okay.
kind of have a wide range. Right now at the shelter, we actually have 7 horses that are, some are still pending through cases through the Superior Court. Others are available for adoption. But I would say one of my first really kind of bad cases was a horse named Hero, and I had never seen a horse that skinny before. He was considered a 1 on the Heineke scale,
Sure.
and you could see
Let's just
every,
pause really quick because
yeah, yeah,
some of our listeners may not know the
yeah,
scoring chart. So the Henneke score, Dr. Henneke he created the scoring chart. It's similar to the dog body condition scoring chart, but it's a 1 through 9. And
yeah.
there's paperwork that you can walk through and do everything. So I just
Mhm.
wanted to make sure our listeners, you and I know what that is, but our listeners may not know. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So one basically being extremely emaciated, 5 is your ideal range, 9 is your obese. So he was a 1, and he had every single, you could see every bone in his body. It's He's a big old thoroughbred horse, but he looked tiny because he was so thin. He had a buddy in a stall next door to him that was as thin as he was, but not as bad, I would say. Hero also had a nail that was in his hoof,
Oh,
and I know,
how
like the
deep?
poor guy.
How deep was it?
It was all the way down to like the head of the nail, but it was in a part of the hoof that luckily didn't cause any lasting damage.
Okay.
Um, So we were very, very lucky in that sense. But it ended up being at a boarding facility that was more in a kind of rural area. Um, and the owner, I'm trying to not give too much information away,
No, it's
but
okay. Totally. I
yeah,
totally get it. Totally get it.
the owner of the property itself actually was the one to call us and let us know, hey, so there's this horse that's really skinny on my property. It was a property that was kind of, eh, I guess the best way to describe it is ramshackle. Um, the stalls that the animals were in, and it ranged too. You had cows, you had chickens, goats, and there's multiple spaces, about 200 different spaces on this one property. But it's literally like pieces of plywood, hammered up, and you can't even see into some areas. And so, walking by, you wouldn't even know that there's a skinny horse back there. Um, and that was like my first really big really big case. And I ended up impounding Hero, and Archer was the other horse's name, and bringing them both back to the Humane Society. We compiled a case for the district attorney and submitted it, and we did get some charges pressed against the owner. um, and they were awarded to the Humane Society. And actually, it didn't take them long to gain weight. I want to say in 3 months they were already looking a lot better. And we had a phenomenal vet at the time that basically gave a stellar report where she said, well, if you fed the horse, it would have been just fine. It's you starve the horse, and so that's pure neglect, basically. So it was
Perfect.
kind of a slam dunk case. um,
Well,
and
I'm really glad it was a good outcome because the whole time you were talking about it, I was waiting to be like, when a hero comes along. That was really important to me because since his name was Hero, he probably thought you was his hero. And
yeah.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good case. Yeah.
It was. And it took a while to kind of go through the whole process, but once it was done, he was beautiful, he was up to weight, and he got adopted out to a lovely ranch, and was used as a trail horse. I
Okay.
actually, a year later, got to go and ride him for a trail, which was awesome and just a neat experience. So
Did you by any chance play that song I just horribly sang?
No.
Okay. I'm just
No, I
saying, like,
didn't.
you could have been on there, like, what's up? It's me. I'm outside on this horse. That's really
Yeah.
cool. So you adopt out horses from your agency.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's really flipping cool. I think like a lot of agencies will send them to rescue. They're just not
Hmm.
designed to necessarily
Right.
care for horses long term. Because
Hmm.
horses, let's be honest, I mean, they're amazing animals, but it's a lot of work, bro.
Yep. It's a
It's
lot of
a
work. It's a lot
lot.
of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So being able to do that, I think that's really, really important for your organization, and hopefully, the community really sees the value in that. Do you do any as a fund as a I'm sorry, as a nonprofit,
Hmm.
you do any fundraising or any events to raise awareness in the community and things of that nature?
Oh yeah, we have events going on. It seems like every other weekend. June 1st, we have a big one coming up, which is our 92nd birthday as a
Okay.
Humane Society. So we have a nice big dinner that is a ticketed dinner and it's catered, and then we'll have a live auction, and our local sheriff is going to MC along with actor Anson Williams from Happy Days.
Oh,
So
cool. Being
yeah,
close to LA doesn't hurt, you know?
yeah, I know, right? Well, and actually, it seems like a lot of movie stars live up in Ojai, so they like the scenery as well.
Well, just really quick for our listeners, I want to give them the
Hmm.
website. It's hsvc.org, hsvc.org, and that's Humane Society, Ventura County. I don't
Hmm.
know why I don't know why that took me a second to remember it was Ventura County.
That's
Uh,
okay.
it's been a long
But
day. We originally were going to do this as our normal
mhm,
times, which is early in the morning or normal morning, right? And
mhm,
you were kind enough, just due to some changes in scheduling, to get on here after a long day at work. So
mhm.
I think we both felt that long full day at work.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I really humane societies are so unique to this profession, and some people may or may not know that, like, the first true animal welfare organization that I talk about all the time, too much, probably people are sick of hearing me talk about it. It is the ASPCA. They started back in the
Mhm,
late 1800s, and it was designed in this, or your organization is probably designed somewhat in that spirit of, providing humane treatment to animals, but doing it in a way that is, you know, funded in through donations, and people seeing
mhm,
value in it. I think there's a world where all of this can exist in harmony, and it did. The interesting thing is, we trace it back to our, like, ancestors and that aspects. There was a split. So what you
mhm,
were saying earlier when we were talking, because of rabies, back
mm,
in the day, especially in New York City, there
mhm,
was the dog collector or the dog catcher, like, officially
mhm.
titled that. It was officially titled the dog collector
Yeah.
or the dog catcher. And and then you had these humane societies, or they were SPCAs at that time. They weren't The Humane Society didn't come around until a little bit later, that title. And as we know, like, the word humane, as you could see here, like, it's interchangeable. So
Mhm,
like, anybody that operates as a humane society is not connected to the HSUS, the Humane Society of the United States.
mhm,
It's basically another way, either an SPCA or using that term humane society, to really ensure the quality treatment and care of animals. And it's awesome that you're able to do that.
mhm. Yeah, I feel extremely lucky, and it was like a chance conversation that really got me into the position I'm in, and almost 10 years later, here I am, still
You want to talk about
here.
that?
And
What was the conversation like?
well, it was literally our old prior shelter director that it was like lunchtime, and they were talking about how, oh, they need to look for another officer because one's going to be leaving, and they kind of like turned to me and were like, would you have any interest in it? And I was like, well, I kind of don't even know what it is, but like, tell me, because I was still kind of new
Yeah,
to the Humane Society in general. So
sure.
um and it sounded just an amazing opportunity, and I put the tire to the road and just did everything I needed to do. It's a long process. It's a really long process. And so once it was finally done, it's, people always ask me, how can you do this job? Like, how can you do this job? I wouldn't be able to do it. I would see, terrible things every day. And
You
while
think
yes, we do see,
they
go
mean
ahead.
it as a compliment, right? Like they don't,
Yes.
it's not, but some people I've heard, some people say that that makes them feel that it's like not a compliment. Like they're
Hmm.
almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like being critical of them. Like,
Right.
I remember like when I used to work the field as much as I did, that I would go out and there'd be police assists and I'd be out there with cops and they'd be like, they would say things like that, like, I couldn't do your job, bro. I think that's a compliment, so I'm gonna take it as such. But I know there are some officers that don't take it that way, and I think it is a compliment. So
I think so. And honestly, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to educate the individual about, like, yeah, not everyone can do this job, but at the same time, we're helping not only animals, but we're helping people too,
that's
because
kind of our catchphrase on the show: help people, help animals. So
yeah.
I totally get it, and I think as we continue to build up each other, we have to build up our just what we do so people can understand. So people do want to donate to the Humane Society or go adopt an animal from
Hmm.
your shelter or another shelter in the community. I think that's the ultimate goal, right? Figure out ways to provide care to
Hmm.
people that have animals, provide care to animals that have people. I don't know if that made sense. But
Yeah.
access to care is really important. Having
Hmm.
low cost vaccine clinics or low cost spay and neuter or free spay and
Yes.
neuter, those are really important things. So
Yeah, we actually have a great program. It's HSVC Cares, and they do pop-up clinics in some of the lower income areas.
yeah,
And we have a grant from the Petco Foundation that actually funds almost all of the vaccines, besides, I think it's rabies. And so they're able to provide vaccines to the population for very, very low cost, if or nothing. And I know in the future we're looking at getting a spay neuter van, but we do have a low cost spay neuter clinic at our facility as well.
that's fantastic. And I think a lot of agencies are moving towards that.
Hmm.
And like I never I love hearing I really mean this. Like I love hearing and seeing all the things that are happening within our community. The one thing that I don't see enough of is the talk of succession planning. And I feel like we need to talk it into existence. Really, I mean that. And what
Yeah.
that looks like to me is at some point, our shelters may be not full of animals at all, and it's more of
Hmm.
a resource center and a humane society or an animal control agency that makes sure the animals in the community and the people are safe.
Hmm.
But the kennel space, there's this kennel, it's a private kennel in,
Hmm.
of course, Aspen, Colorado. My man that runs that, his name, let me see if I can get it back. He owns it. His name is, I feel like it starts with an S. Seth. Seth, good dude, super good dude. But he's exactly what you would imagine in Aspen, like just he's like an outdoor cold weather enthusiast. And Seth, I can't, I will say I can't speak to the actual ownership, but what it basically looks like, I'm pretty sure he's the owner, but I don't know that to be specific, so I don't want to misquote here. But it's privately owned, and then they have a government contract. And so what that looks like is they have like two sides. So one side you can like do doggy daycare, and the other side is the private government, like animal control animals, the strays, the adoptable animals.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's the model of the future, in my opinion. And the reason Aspen can do that is because it's like they have that ability
Hmm.
because of their community.
Hmm.
But as I talk about like succession planning and building this into the future, if we really get opportunities to spay and neuter every pet in this country, when
Hmm.
when we talk about how we like get it to that level, spay and neuter is going to be, and the only way we get these shelters to be empty. We can clear the shelters all we want. We can have live release rates at whatever number we want. But at the end of the day, in order to get those numbers down, we have to provide access to care. And I think a lot of agencies are doing that. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
great embedded programs that are helping with that. And so we have to just continue on that momentum. But my point is, we have to succession plan and start thinking of that and figuring out ways to make that the next step. And then I believe we speak it into existence.
Absolutely. You know, we're extremely lucky to have a leader that we do, as our executive director, Eric Knight. He's extremely focused on the future, and what we can be, what we can offer, and what it's going to look like. Uh, I don't want to give all the secrets away, so I won't go into detail,
No,
but
but it
he's
it sounds
definitely
like,
got.
yeah, it sounds like you have a great opportunity and you have a creative and a creative leader that really wants to continue to make sure that you help people help animals.
Mhm. Yes, it's 100% we have that leader, but we also have a leader that cares about his staff. I will say that too. That I think sometimes gets lost in translation a little bit,
Yeah.
in some of the animal welfare world, because it's all about helping the animals, and sometimes you got to internalize and help your staff too. So we're pretty fortunate to be in the trajectory that we are right now.
That's really good. And I mean, and that's what you just said really kind of hits me in the aspects of we have like we lose sight of it. I think
Mhm,
people focus on that animal, and obviously that's why we are here. But the reality and what I learned early on in this profession was it's really a people job. When I when I'm tasked to hire new officers, I'm looking for customer service skills because I can, essentially see if you're able to handle animals, if you have that ability, we can train that stuff. But if you have that innate customer service skill, it's
mhm.
going to help you a long way in this job.
Yep.
And that goes for all aspects of animal welfare. I think a lot of
Mhm,
people get into the profession and don't necessarily know that yes, this is a people first job and animal kind of second, because in order for us to get these animals either back into a home, adopted, we have to make sure it's the right fit for that person. We have to make sure
yes.
we're educating people on how to be a good pet owner, those type of things. And
Mhm.
so that is kind of my viewpoint on all that.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, I just went through a huge round of hiring, and I every time it's my whole speech is usually like, look, yes, we work with animals, but you're going to be dealing with people more, and you got to have that compassion level to be able to walk into a situation and not say like, okay, so what's wrong? More like, okay, so how can I help?
Well, speaking of people, I'm going to change it up really quick because we both,
Mhm,
we've done a job very similar, being, in the field patrol, and it's a dangerous job, not just from the aspects of animals,
mhm.
but from people. And so I'm going to read this really quick from Fox 23, fox23.com. That's Tulsa. Where's Tulsa? Tulsa
Oklahoma.
is Tulsa, Oklahoma? Sure. It's fine. The headline reads Tulsa police arrest man for chasing animal control officer with a pickaxe. Tulsa police said man was arrested for chasing animal control officer with a pickaxe on Monday. Police said officers were called to a disturbance with a weapon near East 49th Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard around 2:30 p.m. on Monday. A city of Tulsa animal control officer reported a man wearing no shirt was chasing after her vehicle with a pickaxe. The animal control officer said she responded to a report of a dog hit by car in the area and loaded the deceased dog into the back of her truck when she encountered the suspect, later identified as Trey Basks. She reported Basque, who claimed the dog was his, was angry and upset and chased her with a
Mm.
pickaxe. He then threw the pickaxe into a field and started making threats to shoot her, police said. Police said Basques and a woman with him tried to open the crates in the back of the truck to get the deceased dog while animal control officer was driving away. Basque threw the pickaxe at the truck and hit the side of it. Police said the animal
Jeez.
control officer got away safely and officers arrested Basques shortly after the incidents. He was arrested for assault with a dangerous weapon.
Mm.
It's a dangerous job, and as I look here at the photos, I mean, it definitely caused a little bit of damage to the truck. And I'll put
Hmm.
that on for those of y'all listening and want to watch on YouTube or Spotify. These pictures will be here on the recording, so you can take a look at his throwing of the axe, well, the damage, and his booking mugshot too. You won't want to miss that. You definitely won't want to miss that. So, have you ever had any encounters in the field that was a threat to you or any of your staff members?
You know, I I've been in situations where I felt a little uncomfortable, but you know, I had a great teacher when I first was becoming an officer, and she always told me like, trust your gut. If you
Mm.
walk into a situation and something doesn't feel right, turn around and come back with backup because you're probably right.
And
So
in this situation, so unfortunate, right? The officer,
yeah.
it's like they're there for a deceased animal that unfortunately was hit by a car. Like I'm sure the owner is emotionally upset about that. Because obviously, like we don't want to see anybody's animal
Mm-mm.
deceased or any of that type of stuff. And so like that's hard enough. And then she has to deal with him threatening her. All she's trying to do is get the animal so that they can, whether maybe they would cremate it for the guy. Like, I don't know. I
Hmm.
can't speak for that agency, but maybe that was an
Right.
option, but he wasn't able to hear that because he was so upset. And that's just too
Yeah.
unfortunate. So, this job can be extremely dangerous at times, and we don't take that lightly. And so I just want to make sure that our officers that are listening to this, like you said, trust your instincts. I've never once in my life, ever, 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 ever have an instinct lied to me.
Mm.
It's never
Hmm.
lied to me, ever in my life.
Hmm.
One thing about Mother Nature, and people may or may not know this, is she's undefeated. She is undefeated. So when we think about instincts related to Mother Nature, trust those instincts, whether it's in your gut, the back, the hairs on your neck, whatever it may be, deja vu. Trust that. There's no pride, or no one's gonna not wait. Remove your pride, maybe. No one's gonna judge you if you say, "Hey, I don't think this is gonna be a safe call. I need a call for
Hmm.
backup." Do it. We support
Yep.
it.
100%. I tell my officers that all the time. Like, your safety is more important. So if you don't feel safe, then get out and go back with backup. I also actually send my officers to self-defense classes
Okay.
in Bakersfield. It's Controlled Response Institute. It's really awesome if you're in the area or around it. So,
I mean, all
uh,
you really have to do is just put them in Bakersfield and they'll
yeah,
learn self-defense on
yeah.
their own.
Yeah, but
This
he's a great teacher, so I make sure that they're well prepared.
That's great. I think that's really forward of you to make sure that, it's incumbent upon us as leaders to ensure that our staff is safe.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I would agree.
100%.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today. This was a special episode because Bishop and Bishop are off the chessboard, I guess I could say. They're not here, so this is just checkmate. I guess I don't know. That was a very bad pun, but you know, join us the next week, and I think it's going to be Bishop and no me. So there you have it. That'll be the next episode they get to do on their own, which will be fun for them. I'm sure they'll have all their jokes about me. I'm not on the chessboard. Ettinger or Daniel, there's none of those. Uh, I don't, I'm not a chess piece, but they are. They are. Well, we really do appreciate it. And again, thanks for taking the time out tonight to get this done. And I look forward to continuing to chat with you, us both being in Southern California. Maybe I'm a little more Southern, but uh, maybe I'll get to see you at one of these trainings or something like that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime, feel free.
Cool. Very cool. Well, we want to say to our listeners, thanks for listening. Please, again, check out the website, keepithumane.com. Also, please like, share, and rate this podcast because that does something. I don't know what it actually does, but if you do it, I think it does something. So do more of that because that'll help. And as always, let's continue to help people help animals and keep it humane.